It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA and around our dying planet, we're Red Eye Radio.
Dying planet, huh?
Creating paranoia all the time.
Yeah.
Wow, that just popped into my mind. I just went, oh, said around the planet, around the dying planet.
Listen, you shouldn't be paranoid, but we're doomed.
Well, if you just tuned in, it's been an exhausting show. I mean, and why has it been exhausting? I can simplify it real quick on a couple of topics.
Big government? Oh.
Well,
did I go too broad?
Maybe just a little bit too broad. Maybe a need for a little bit of explanation there. And it's simply that the United States credit rating was downgraded, which means everything will go up in price. It will cause an increase in interest rates, car loans, mortgages, things like that. But the main reason is because we're borrowing too much. We're borrowing too much money, and the fear is we cannot grow our way out of it because we're spending so fast that no type of increase in the economy will catch up.
Yeah.
And that's always been one of the things that the credit ratings have looked at. Well, growth in the United States, if we moderate spending or whatever, just moderate spending. I mean, don't even cut it. Just eventually we'll catch up if we just don't go crazy on spending. We've gone so crazy on spending that even economic growth can't catch up. And so, since the problem is the fact that we're borrowing so much money, the solution, God is my witness, from Janet Yellen, is we need to borrow even more. Not making that up.
Mm-hmm.
We need to invest more, which means the government needs to actually borrow more money because the public, you can't tax the public right now. You try to put an increase of taxes on the American public right now, they're not going to go for it.
No.
So that's not going to happen. So the solution is from the Biden administration and Janet Yellen to borrow more. And so then the other story that was out there was we've talked about, solar and wind and how that won't work. And you've got regional electricity providers now going to the federal government saying, you got to stop this. This is insanity. We're going to run out of power. And so we just extrapolated out that since what they're doing with our borrowing of money, that the Biden administration would just come out and say, okay, so the problem is that we're closing coal plants and we're not producing natural gas plants and more coal plants in order to back up the solar and wind that cannot provide consistent electricity. Okay, make more solar and wind and cut back more on natural gas and coal.
Yeah.
Because that's actually what they've been proposing.
Right.
Because we know that. Because a couple of weeks ago, that pending rule came out that you must cut 90% of emissions from all power plants in just a few years. I think it's by 2030. Can't be done. And they're talking, the whole underground carbon thing. You saw they want to do that in every place they want to do that. Environmentalists are going, are you crazy? You have no idea. Nobody has any idea what the consequences would be for pounding that amount of carbon dioxide into the crust of the earth.
Right.
And so environmentalists, the left, is protesting that.
Well, no. Think about the answer to saving the earth is to put it all back into the earth. Well, no, we're trying to save the earth. Yeah, we'll just pound it into the earth. Just bury it. No one will know. Hey, don't you tell them where the body is.
And that along with just the latest Devin Archer interviews that we played excerpts of it that he was on Tucker Carlson, and then the Jack Smith stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's been an exhausting show. That's all. That's all. And not physically, just mentally. It's like, can I just go home and play golf?
Yeah, why not?
Can I get a rest just for today? Just let me out for
Well, there's bound to be something big hit today. Just when we're thinking, all right, look, we'll just take a breath. We'll get through Friday. We got the weekend. It'll happen Thursday afternoon.
And it'll be insane.
Yeah.
It'll be something where we'll go, are you kidding me? Oh, and plus we mentioned a couple of stories on defund the police, and, people are surprised at the consequences there.
Wow.
So it was just one of those days where it's like, well, let's put it this way. I've probably done this where I put now hopefully I won't be arrested for making the whole thumb and finger gun and pointed it at my head.
Well, you weren't going to be until you actually said it. Nobody can see you until you said it.
I think I'm pretty safe.
Now there's a warrant out.
I think I'm pretty safe in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I'm in a liberal county.
Yep.
I'm in Dallas County. I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a couple miles west. That'd be
good
okay.
luck. Good luck. That's all I'm saying.
And I've just broadcast all over the Dallas area that I made the finger-thumb gun.
Yeah. Yeah. Way to go. Great job on that.
Is that intent to defraud because it's not a real gun?
Yes, it is.
Is everything now?
It's both
an attempt to defraud.
Intent to instill fear and to defraud. You're instilling fear into people who know nothing about guns, and for people who do know about guns, it's fraud.
The imaging is triggering.
No.
The imagery, not imaging.
Yeah.
The imagery is triggering.
Think about it. If you use the Jack Smith School of Law playbook.
Oh, my God. I'm going to have fun with this.
Everybody, forget about everybody in D.C., everybody would go to jail.
Yes.
Everybody would go to jail.
Yeah, who wouldn't go to jail?
What are you in for? Whatever. I don't know. What are you in for? I don't know.
Attempted to fraud.
Yeah.
Attempted to fraud the government.
Right.
That's why they had to make sure that they're going after your $600 because of your attempt to defraud the government.
Right.
If you say, I don't want to pay my taxes, is that an attempt to defraud the government?
I mean, everybody would go to prison.
Yeah,
based on his standard.
I think that probably fried my mind more than anything today when we actually went through it and just, we started talking about it. And we started it on yesterday's show and then just continued it today, that by Jack Smith's own standard of going after Trump, that he actually is committing the same crime, but a level up. If Trump is accused of third-degree attempting to defraud the government, then Jack Smith is what? Premeditated? Premeditated first degree?
Pre- and post-meditated. He's the one, he took action. Trump
he took action, right.
Only talked, but
and that's
he went beyond just words. Jack Smith actually indicted.
Right.
Based on his own standard.
And he's defrauding the government.
He should go to prison for longer.
And he's defrauding the government because he's attempting to interfere in a presidential election by putting out bogus charges. That is fraud.
Yes.
By his own standard.
Right.
Not our standard.
No.
Don't call us up and go, you guys are being ridiculous. No. We're going by Jack Smith's standards.
Right.
Here's another one you just shake your head, which just makes it another frustrating day. A Portland doctor said a homeless man knocked her unconscious while walking in the city, and she waited more than 20 minutes without a police response. I do not hold the police accountable for this at all. I hold our city accountable for defunding the police, said Mary Constantino, a radiologist, told Fox News. We don't have enough police force to protect our citizens. We did this to ourselves. The attack happened shortly after 10:30 on Friday night. 1 minute, Costello was walking in southwest Portland with a friend. The next, she woke up on the ground, blood pouring out of her mouth. She said she was sure that she was about to be killed and immediately dialed 911. I thought we were still being sort of attacked in some way. I was like, I'm going to just try to verbalize a report of what's happening so there's some record of how I died. As the situation cleared, she realized she was not dying. She had been struck in the face with an aluminum water bottle hurled by a man. There had been no yelling, no sign of danger to give Constantino time to defend herself. She credits her friend with saving her from further harm. He said that the perpetrator was still coming towards me, and he turned around and really aggressively yelled at him, and the guy ran away. Had it not been for this person being with me, I would have been a lot worse.
Wow.
A spokesperson for the Portland Police Bureau confirmed the incident. So, but it's just another case of, it's a woman out there saying, look, we did this to ourselves. This is what we voted for.
Yep.
And that's what we have stated. So much of what we've talked about today, and that's the other frustrating thing. And this happens once in a while. We get a little bit fried. Every day we're doing this, every single day. And people ask us, does it ever get to you? Once in a while in one of these. But it's not, the frustration's always there. I'm not going to let anybody make me not be a happy person. But it was more the not physical, but the mental exhaustion of the stupidity of it all. I think would that be a way to describe it? Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Because we chose this. Many things we choose, and this is what this doctor is saying there in her city. And there's not going to be a turnaround. There's not going to be in those liberal towns and cities where crime is skyrocketing. You're not going to see conservatives get voted in. So what's the answer? Well, now you see in D.C. and other cities, they're screaming. But the voters won't change who they vote for. The same people are going to go in. Same mindset are going to be in. They're going to be leading these cities to failure.
In other news, did you see where DeSantis said, okay, I'll debate Gavin Newsom? Remember Newsom said that with Sean Hannity.
Mm-hmm.
He should have accepted right then, but he didn't feel he needed to. Is it an act of desperation Now, I would love to see it, but is it an act of political desperation? Does DeSantis, in his mind, saying, I now need to do this, where before he didn't believe he had to do it? Because it would be news if DeSantis debated Newsom on which, because the debate would be what state is better, Florida or California, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it would be on.
Sure. And also, if Devin Archer keeps talking, it would be presumptive nominee on the left for against primary candidate DeSantis on the right. I can't say presumptive nominee because he's not there in the polls even close, but
I think
you could at least say primary candidate.
Right. I think the campaign of DeSantis says this might give us a jolt that we need.
Well, and it could, but and we talked about that. Generally speaking, in debates, you start to see those polls shaping up differently. But this one would be highlighted differently.
Yes.
And if you're talking about only those two, I think a lot of people would tune into that, and it could have a much greater impact.
Well, because it's interesting. It's not about I'm running for president of the United States. It's which state is better.
Right.
And that is something we've never seen before.
Well, think about what our founders would say about it. Our founders would go, in this little state experiment thing, I want to see that. I want to see where the people and how the people argue the ideas and the setup of different states here, two vastly different states.
The first federalism debate.
Yeah.
Held in the history of the country. It took us until 2023 to get to that point, maybe, because Newsom, I haven't seen a response from Newsom saying, okay, let's set up a date to do this.
Right. Yeah. No, it officially has to come together. So we'll see. But I think it would definitely, and here's the question. Right now, what does Newsom have to gain?
By doing this?
Yeah.
Nothing. DeSantis does.
So does Newsom now flinch?
Yeah.
He threw it out there.
He did. He threw it out there.
So we'll see where it goes.
866-90 Red Eye.
A record-setting July temperature-wise? In spots, according to USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey.
As you move to the far west, the deep south, and even parts of the eastern U.S., it was a month for the record books.
Perhaps most notable, Phoenix, Arizona's average high temperature for the month.
This is the first time we have seen a major U.S. city reporting a monthly average temperature greater than 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Phoenix, Arizona ended up with the month with an average temperature of 102.7 degrees, more than 7 degrees above normal, and that broke the previous record for any month in any year for Phoenix.
All-time record average July heat was also recorded in other cities in the Southwest, such as Las Vegas. Also,
the very warm water that's been lurking off the Florida coast has contributed to record-setting warmth in much of South Florida for the month of July. So we saw our warmest month ever for any month of the year in South Florida locations, including Key West and Miami, Florida.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report is made possible by Cenex Roadmaster XL Premium Diesel and Citgo Lubricants.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Crowley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up following the bottom of the hour, the Washington Post hits Biden with 4 Pinocchios. We'll get to that one. 4 Pinocchios means, bottomless Pinocchios mean the lies are just so incredibly great.
Mm-hmm.
And 4 Pinocchios means an absolute lie about something. So
Yeah.
we'll get to that. You know, I just was reading this article from CNBC.
Yeah.
I haven't looked for a job for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Because it says if you're applying for a job, there is one thing that almost everybody doesn't do after they apply for a job. I'm thinking, okay, what would that be? I really don't know. And that's following up the application with a message on LinkedIn and a personalized email to the company hiring manager and even its CEO. See, when we
After the interview.
After you send the,
Or after you apply.
if you're applying for a job, it may use your resume. While there are crucial steps in the job application process, there's one more step that comes after applying, which everyone fails on. Says Nolan Church, former Google and DoorDash recruiter and current CEO of Continuum, a talent marketplace for executives. That's following up the application with a message on LinkedIn and a personalized email to the company hiring manager and even CEO. Maybe, that's the reason that a long time ago when LinkedIn first came out that I went on it. Why is anybody on LinkedIn?
To get a job if you need one.
Right. That's it. To network.
Or to network if you're a business, if you have your own business too.
Right.
You know, you're looking to, it's to help your income.
Exactly.
Your career.
So I probably would think of that if I sent a resume out and I could find the person. I'd probably send them a message and say, on LinkedIn, because it's so easy. But the last time I really looked for a job, email really, people didn't have personal email even.
Yeah. I don't know about the LinkedIn thing until maybe after an interview. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, you may be right on that one, depending on the situation.
Giving you 70% each night. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara on Red Eye Radio.
It's Rhode Island Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, relating to that last story, Eric, that we were talking about, concerning if you apply for a job and, the things to do. This was in the Wall Street Journal. How do I do that? The new hires of 2023 are unprepared for work. And they say that because even in college, so much of it was remote work. They talk about this one engineer who had somebody come in from college and said he was consulting for a robotics company in California last fall when he asked a newly minted mechanical engineer to design a small aluminum part that could be fabricated on a lathe, a skill normally mastered in the first or second year of college. How do I do that? Asked the young man. So the consultant, an engineer who had built technology for NASA and Google and who charges consulting clients a minimum of $300 an hour, spent the next 3 hours teaching lathe work 101 you learn by doing. These kids in school during the pandemic, all they've done is work on computers. And talked about, the shortcomings run from just the lack of general knowledge about what you were hired to do, including how to make change at a register. You think about it, with everybody using their credit card.
I ran into that not too long ago. It was a few weeks ago. And the person was clearly, they pointed to the little scanner for the card. And I was paying with cash instead. And then it was like, whatever it was, $7.22. And then I hand them a 10 or 20, whatever it was. And then I said, wait, here, let me give you a quarter for the 22. Well, that held us up for a few more seconds. It was, and eventually we got around to it. I just said, put the coins in the little tip jar here, 3 whole cents. And it was clear that it was a greater task, that you were slowing down the workflow tremendously. So how do you prepare people for jobs when all of their life it's been automated? Everything's been, because a 23-year-old born in the year 2000, by the time they were in first grade, smartphones were around. By the time they got to middle school, then we had apps for just about everything. And now today, all of it has been essentially hit a button. So a very interesting dynamic here. Not only do we not have them prepared in certain practical ways, but you also don't have them. Do they have the ability to learn certain things? Because we had to go through life. You probably learned that in school, actually. I know I did. We would go through in school. All right, we're gonna go through this. And it wasn't just math class. Now, someone gives you this, how much do you give them back? Someone gives you this money, this amount of money, and the item costs this, how much do you give them back? And then, of course, we worked certain jobs that trained us to do that. And now a situation where over the last several years, so much has changed so quickly that you have a new wave of individuals who aren't prepared for a whole number of jobs.
So they talk in this Wall Street Journal article about just the lack of general knowledge and actually skills that they don't have, which is just working and communicating with others. That is a huge problem. They say employees are spending more time and resources searching for candidates and offer lowering expectations when they hire than they are spending millions to fix new employees' lack of basic skills. And I'll give you an example I know somebody who runs a driving range. Not a driving range. You ever been to a driving range? It's not a complicated place. You walk in, can I get a bucket of golf balls?
Right.
Okay, you put your card in. And the frustration that he has talked to me about hiring new people. And this is a very soft-spoken gentleman who told me just the other day, just to get it's like they're all the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's the age group right now that he may be trying to hire between 20 and 25. He said, I can't find anybody with even, he said, the basic communication skills that if I tell them to do something once, they do it. He said, normally it's 3 or 4 times. And they get upset at me, like, what are you doing? He goes, and constantly I've had to tell them, you need to get off your phone. Well, he had this one young woman that worked for him. And she went and complained to the management that he keeps telling me to do things 3 or 4 times. Well, are you doing it the first time? No. Because I don't like the tone in his voice. And this is the most soft-spoken person you could ever imagine, who will look at you and say, hey, could you get this done over here? And she quit because she couldn't handle the pressure.
Well, because it's the breakdown in the social cues that come with developing, or in this case, not developing social skills along the way. And technology's been a part of that. COVID was a huge part of that in the breakdown of those social skills. And so now they have to go out and actually interact with people.
What got to me is the fact that I had seen her and talked to her, and she seemed like she was, I thought in the short conversations I had it, pretty well together. But you're not talking about a highly technical job. Get the golf balls.
Yeah, right.
That's what do you have to do? Get the golf balls.
Yeah.
Or now if you got an automatic machine, if the automatic machine's working, check to make sure it's working. There's nothing to do.
Right.
And he said he just can't find anybody with just basic understanding of the fact that you're getting paid, do something.
Right.
So I just found
we talked about where the economy was and where at least a couple of different experts had said it's going and the demographics of the workforce and how this year's a pivotal year with so many reaching that retirement age and you would think leaving the workforce and fewer younger people being available. Well, one analyst said if you're age 55 to 70 and you still want to work, it's a good time for you because you're going to be in high demand because you have tons of experience. And there are fewer people available in the younger demographics, and those individuals don't have that experience. And now you start to see it come together with the effects of, again, a new generation that has zero social skills. Well, tell me how the service industry survives without people who know how to deal with people.
And you start seeing the damage that closing down the schools and remote learning had.
Mm-hmm.
The sharpest declines in scores for engineers came on questions measuring the most specialized knowledge. Structural engineers failed to answer basic questions about the construction of bridges and roadways. These are areas that are very much involved in public safety. Students in elementary and middle schools across the nation fell behind by an average of about 4 months during the pandemic after classes switched to remote learning in 2020 and stayed that way in some cases through 2021. On national standard tests, the scores of 4th and 8th graders fell to 30-year lows. Students who were in high school and college when COVID hit and are now entering the workforce did not fare much better. Despite lower standards at many schools during the pandemic, high school graduation rates fell despite the lower standards issued during COVID. The high school graduation rate fell. Scores for college admission exams dropped to their lowest level again in 30 years. The chief executive of ACT, the nonprofit organization which administers the college admission test of the same name, said more high school graduates today lack the fundamental academic skills needed for college and the workplace, with low-performing students facing the steepest declines. The worst students got a lot worse. After COVID-19's aftermath, many college professors restructured curricula for students who lack basic study skills. Reading, writing, and critical thinking skills are not the same as they have been in the past, said Mike Altman, professor at the University of Alabama, who said he has narrowed his curriculum to give students more time to master the basics. That's in college.
Right.
They don't have the basics down.
Right. I'm shocked. What do you think is going to happen when you shut everything down and send everybody home? What is going to be the result of that? It's going to be what you're seeing here. Couple that with the failure of public schools over the years. A whole long line and list of failures. And I don't know what you do as an employer. Honestly, I don't. I really don't. If people, I wonder how much of the service industry, how many in the service industry didn't go back to those jobs because during COVID, their social skills, or not skills, but their willingness to redevelop social skills or whatever it was just simply not there. In other words, how much of that did they lose during the shutdown in COVID of dealing with people one-on-one? It changes the mentality. There's no way it doesn't, right? Mm-hmm. With those who were even great at any kind of service job. If you're a server at a restaurant or whatever it might be. I wonder how many of them, it's a hard job. You have to be on your toes, on your feet for hours every single day. But how many of them mentally didn't have it in them to go back because of being at home for years?
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, is the mainstream media slowly turning on President Biden? There's a headline, Washington Post slaps Biden with 4 Pinocchios for falsely claiming Hunter never made money with China, as Glenn Kessler wrote. But now, nearly 3 years after the debate, when Biden said that, his son did not, did do business with China,
right.
Biden's assertions have been directly rebutted by Hunter himself. In court testimony last week, the younger Biden acknowledged that he had, in fact, been paid substantial sums in China, the first official confirmation that this was the case. The fact checker laid out how Hunter Biden accompanied his father while he was vice president on an official trip to China in 2013 And by Hunter's own admission, he used a trip to connect with a Chinese business partner, even introducing the partner to his father. That was the point when they say that he didn't know anything about his son's business and wasn't involved in it. That's one of the things that was brought up the other day to challenge Representative Goldman, saying, you're telling me the father went on a business trip? His father went to China. His son came along on a business trip, and they never discussed business. The father never said, why are you here with me?
Right.
It's like all this stuff gets beyond belief, and I guess the point is the Washington Post now starting to recognize that. Is the turn happening? Is eventually going to keep growing where the media and more Democrats say it's time to move on?
Right.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.